What's going on, YouTube gamers? Bonfire here, bringing you guys a dual commentary with my good friend WakMed19. And today we're going to talk about Battlefield 4 because the beta just came out, and we've kind of been seeing a lot of tweets and some information out there that's saying that Battlefield 4 is similar to Call of Duty. So we kind of want to dive into that and take a look if it is, if it isn't, compare the two, and come to some conclusions here. So WakMed, talk a little bit about some of the things that you've been seeing out there on the Twitterverse.
Yeah, disclaimer first of all, since I don't have Battlefield 3 and since I didn't pre-order Battlefield 4, I can't play the beta, and it's actually, I'm going to say it, it's actually eating at me a little bit that I can't do this beta because there's a lot of people that are loving it, and there's some things that are interesting about it, and I have serious questions that have arisen from what I've seen on Twitter about what's up with it. So I'm definitely gonna give it a shake. I may even buy Battlefield 4. Yeah, super huge news there. So I've seen a couple of, I think Adam Kovic, maybe I may be misquoting, but IGN thing said that Battlefield 4 looks more like COD, and saw a couple of other major time YouTube personalities that also commented and said that Battlefield 4 more resembles Call of Duty than it has in the past, and I'm not sure how that goes. And I would love to say, first of all, that the gold standard for first-person shooters, right now it's COD. Okay, it used to be Halo. It used to be Halo.
Yep.
And for the last 4 years, or maybe a little more, maybe a little less, the gold standard of is your first person shooter any good came from the bar that was set by Call of Duty. And I'm thinking, number one, that bar is being approached by several other games, even Titanfall. That's third person though, isn't it?
No, it's first person.
It is first person? Okay, so Titanfall, I think, is going to approach that. And I'm thinking, from what I hear now, Battlefield 4 is on the money with I guess, the way the character moves and some other things. So
yeah, well, so I've played the beta. I played it quite a bit last night, and it definitely does come with a grain of salt. And I will give you good news, WakMed, is that October 4th, the beta opens up to everybody. So you should be able to download it October 4th. Yeah. So then we can play it and get some of your impressions on it. But as far as, so you said movement. As far as movement goes, to me it's still Battlefield movement. It still has the way you hurtle over objects, the way you move. One of the things that's interesting about this is they have added a leaning mechanic that I haven't really heard much about. It doesn't work very well. I mean, because you walk up to a corner and then you hold the left trigger to aim down sight, and it kind of leans you out a little bit, but it's nothing to really go home about. It's nothing that big. You hardly notice it. It's very smooth though, and you run nonstop, so you don't have to catch your breath like you do in Call of Duty. You can just go. That's one of the cool things about Battlefield, and I believe they do that because the maps are so large typically. But
so you have unlimited sprint? Yes.
Yeah, you can just go.
Battlefield 4 is supposed to be this super naturalistic type of, but you can run forever?
You can, pretty much, yeah.
Does it slow you? Do you slow down?
No, not really.
Fatigue?
No. You just go.
So I'm interested if the lean out feature is going to be like it is supposed to be in Ghost, where it's just automatic and natural. I'm wondering if you're not getting a preview of what Ghosts is going to have.
I think so. I think they're going to be very similar in the sense. I'm surprised it's not as exaggerated as you would think, because, like I said, you walk up to a corner, you're aiming down sight, and you lean over just a little bit. Not enough where I feel like to camp on a corner and just kind of poke your head out. And it isn't enough to make you do that. But I do feel like it's a preview as far as the mechanic of walking up to a wall, being able to aim down sight and lean out a little bit, and it's all very smooth. So it works really well, but I don't feel like you'll ever really use it.
Have you faced someone who did that, like an enemy? No. How much did you have to shoot at?
I haven't faced anyone that's really done that. Like I said, no one's really using it, and I barely noticed it. because you're running around. So within the beta, to get to kind of some of the similarities and differences, within the beta there's two game types. Conquest, that's your Battlefield typical gameplay. That I would say that's the most popular game type within Battlefield, and it's basically a variation of domination, which there's multiple flags. Depending on the size of the map, there's anywhere from 3 to 5 flags out there that you have to go capture, and you have a certain amount of, they're called tickets. And so however, it's basically points, and it counts backwards. So the longer you hold a flag, the more the points are going to go down, count down to 0. So whoever has the most points at the end is going to win, basically.
Okay.
And that's played on the larger maps. So that's where you got your vehicles, your choppers, your jets. All of that is on the very large map. You get the whole thing. You're running around. And then the other game type within the beta is domination, and that's exactly what it is. It's just like Call of Duty. Since this is on Xbox and PS3, it's still really small. There's only 3 flags, so it's exactly like Call of Duty. You capture them really fast, you lose them really fast. The spawns are always moving, and to me, that's the game type that feels more like Call of Duty than the other one, and is the domination.
What is the feel, and what's the difference in the feel of Battlefield 4 that feels like Call of Duty and Battlefield 3 that doesn't?
So, well, with Battlefield 3, the only game type, or I guess I hesitate to say game type, but there was one DLC. It was a close quarters DLC. Okay. I think that's what it was called, like close quarters, and that one had very small maps, very, very small maps.
Very small for Battlefield, or very small for Call of Duty?
I would say they're about the size of your Black Ops 2 medium-sized map. So it's very small for Battlefield, though, very small. And some of them, one of them in particular, you're basically in this like mansion kind of piazza type area with like a courtyard and then a couple rooms inside. That's very small, very tight-knit, close quarters. But that is as close as you can come in Battlefield 3 to really feeling like Call of Duty. Because, I mean, it's that run-and-gun gameplay mentality. You're capturing, it's domination in the Battlefield 3. It's still domination, but you're just running, gunning, you're capturing the flags, and then you're moving on. So it's that very fast-paced gameplay within that small map. Now, with Battlefield 4, it's similar. It's a little larger in scale, in my opinion, on the one map that you do get to play, because it is only one map on the beta. But it's still that same mentality that you have in Call of Duty. It's that fast-paced, run-and-gun type gameplay. One of the differences, though, and we'll kind of dive into this, I'm sure, in a little bit, is that you have no perks or kill streaks. So all the gunfights that you get into, it's one-on-one, it's gun battles. That's all it is. There's no vehicles in domination. It's on foot. And I think that's another one of the things that makes it similar to Call of Duty, is that there is no vehicles in this particular game type. It's all on foot infantry combat.
So the vehicles, excuse me. So the vehicles, from what I understand, they're supposed to help the people who want that faster gameplay in Battlefield 3. Like I'm trying not to speculate so much for 4, because I have watched more videos about 3 than I have about 4. So in 3, it's like I heard it described by I was watching an Optic Big Timer stream, and he said it's like I'm running through mud. I was watching him stream one night. They switched over to Battlefield, where he got stomped, by the way. So he said it feels like I'm running through mud.
Like when he's on foot.
When he was on foot, he was going to like a tunnel area, a underground train station.
Oh, yep, Operation Metro is what it's called.
Okay, and snipers just seemed to own the day there, but there was a lot of flanking. Yeah. There was a lot of smarts, and we'll talk about smarts in a minute, and what it takes to play a game like that. But he said the motion, and even after he said, I had noticed it before, but after he said it, I started noticing it more. It looked more like true realistic slow running. I mean, if you're laden with a ruck and a weapon or two, I don't know. Do you have two weapons, primary, secondary? I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So if you're laden with 100 pounds of gear and fighting equipment, you're going to be lumbering, and that is one thing that really did not appeal to me. Is that, sometimes I feel like I move slow in Call of Duty if I'm not running lightweight, or dexterity or anything that helps me move, then I kind of feel like I'm lumbering, especially when I pull out a LMG or something. Just I just I can't ever get there. But if you've got just a knife or just a pistol, it seems like the whole world breezes by at 90 miles an hour. So what is that like in 4?
In 4, I would say, as far as movement's concerned, it's very similar to Battlefield 3, where you do kind of feel held back a little bit compared to Call of Duty. Now, I mean, you don't have that just free flow. You can practically run over all the obstacles like Call of Duty. I mean, you just go unless you hit a wall, basically. There's no brush or anything you kind of run into, or like there's a garbage can here and there, but it's very smooth and free flow is the best way to describe it. In Battlefield, sorry, go ahead.
Have you played Borderlands 2?
Yes, fantastic game.
How would you compare Borderlands 2 movement to Call of Duty to Battlefield? Because Borderlands also has unlimited sprint. But
that's actually a really good comparison. So
to 4?
Yeah, 3 and 4. Like I said, they're very similar. That is a very good comparison because you do have the unlimited sprint. You can kind of feel the weight of equipment per se, as you described earlier, and the way you like hurdle over things, because Call of Duty Ghosts is implementing this. The way you can reach, let's say, a barricade and hurdle over it as you're running. I think this is what compensates for that drag, if you will, of the weight of your equipment that you kind of feel in the gameplay. Now, one of the things that you can do to compensate that, as far as your aiming and left to right movement is concerned, is you can increase the sensitivity, obviously. And that's one of the things I had to do in my very first gameplay in the Battlefield 4 beta, as you'll see in my video. I had to increase the sensitivity right away just because I felt like I was barely moving. So if you do that, it's going to feel a little bit better. And then like when you reach those obstacles and you hurdle over, that smooths things out a little bit. Now, within the beta, I've noticed though that it is still glitchy. You can definitely tell that it's a beta. You can get stuck in certain things, and it takes you a second to kind of jump up and move. And actually, that reminds me, jumping. You don't jump as high as you do in Call of Duty. So definitely Halo, obviously, but if you want to bring that into comparison, but you can't really like jump, shoot, turn corners. You can't drop shot. So those are just a couple differences as far as your movement mechanics are concerned. And I can appreciate that, because to me it truly levels the playing field, and it makes it a one-on-one gun battle type game.
So you increased your sensitivity. Do you remember off the top of your head what your Battlefield 3 sensitivity was?
I don't off the top of my head, but I know over time, as I've played, gone from Call of Duty to Battlefield and even Halo, I've increased my sensitivity over time. I want to say if I had to do it a scale out of 10, I would say it would either be a 5 or 6. I don't go super sensitive. Is
that what the scale is? Does it go to 10, or do you know off the top of your head?
I know I can't remember in Battlefield 3. It's been a while since I played that game. But I know in the Battlefield 4 beta, it's 1 through 100 percentage-wise. And actually, in the Battlefield 4 beta, I was playing on 35%.
35 out of 100%?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because I bumped it up immediately to 60, because that, to me, was right around my range of where I typically play. But it was like way too much for me, so it didn't work out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder how much the beta and how much the 360 version of this game is going to be like the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 version of this game. Have you, like, obviously the map size is smaller. Do you know off the top of this is way off what we had discussing. Do you know if there's going to be any specific limitations on this generation versus the next generation? Anything that you've, or would you speculate anything?
I do believe that it is confirmed that the current gen, those 360 PS3 versions, can only support, I believe it's 32 max players, so 16 versus 16, I think is what it currently does. So whatever it currently does in Battlefield 3 will carry over to Battlefield 4. As far as player size, I definitely do think there's going to be a huge difference between current gen and next gen as far as playability. Just because I know it's a beta, but one of the things I've noticed immediately when I got into a game is that it takes a few seconds for the textures to load. And when you're playing a little bit of faster game type, if your texture on your sight hasn't loaded, you can't really look down that thing and shoot it. So that's a little frustrating. And again, I know, take it with a grain of salt. It is a beta. As far as the next gen is concerned, though, I do believe it can support 64 players and have bigger matches, similar to what you see on PC for both Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. So I believe that's going to be one of the major differences. It's all server-based, so you don't have to worry about as far as connection or lag. Even now, Battlefield 3 was server-based. You could actually rent your own server if you wanted to, which is kind of cool.
Battlefield 3 was on dedicated?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. I've
on
heard
console.
That even right now, Black Ops 2 is on dedicated, and I've noticed the difference that makes in Call of Duty. I could just imagine how much better it would be in on the next generation console. Those are just reminders, by the way, for things I wanted to talk about. The first one that I was additional one I was going to bring up before we leave movement altogether is sliding and diving, dolphin diving, knee sliding. Is there any cool feature like that?
No, there is not. So as far as the
how about just prone crouch?
You can crouch and prone, yes.
Okay.
So that is there. One of the things that I have noticed as far as when you do go prone, it's pretty quick when you drop down. I mean, I would compare it to real life, because if you were in real life, if you're just going to drop down prone, it's going to happen pretty quick. I mean, you're just going to hit the deck, you know?
Yeah, I played football. We did grass drills.
Yeah, up downs, those type of things. Same type of thing.
Same thing.
So, it was like one of the tactics I use. If you're hiding behind something and you get hit from somewhere you don't know where, you just drop down real quick, and it's a very fast movement. But like I said earlier, drop shots don't work in Battlefield 3 and 4, and here's why. So with Call of Duty, when you're aiming and you're dropping, you're shooting at the same time. You shoot as you drop. You cannot do that in Battlefield 4. If you drop, you stop shooting. And it's a more realistic approach to the fact that you stop shooting, you carry the gun, drop, and then you can continue shooting.
You know, that does seem more realistic. Now, obviously, it's not hard to hold the trigger down and fall.
Yeah.
But the amount of relative accuracy that you maintain in Call of Duty is the same as just a hip-fire spray. That's not accurate either. If you're going to hit the ground, I mean, you're going to brace with your forearms to catch yourself, because I mean, just straight Superman in it. That's if you do that, then you can't breathe for the next 15 seconds, and that's no good either. So you would expect more wildly inaccurate, but to not be able to shoot at all, I'm thinking that the game dynamic, the way Battlefield plays, contrary to Call of Duty, being a slower, more open world, more slowly paced game, that would still be not as big a deal unless you're trying to run and gun, clear corners, close quarters, and counting on that element as a way of getting yourself out of a situation you shouldn't have put yourself in the first place. I don't expect any soldier from any branch of any service in this country or any other to just run through houses and expect a dolphin dive and stay alive. I hope our people don't do that.
I don't think they do.
I don't think. Jules, I know you're going to watch this. Tell me you don't dolphin. I know you don't. You're MO, but tell me people aren't taught to dolphin dive. So dolphin diving is, or not dolphin diving, but drop shotting is one of the reasons that my right thumbstick on Call of Duty is drop instead of knife. Is panic knifing, or how does the knifing system work in Battlefield 4?
Well, like 3. So again, there's a lot of similarities with 3 and 4 in regards to knifing. The way knifing works is it's kind of, there's two stages. for lack of a better term to use there. So there's one, like if you sneak up behind someone, it goes through an animation to where you will actually knife them, pull their dog tags, because every time you knife someone, you get their dog tags. That's just a thing Battlefield does.
It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. So because everyone's got different dog tags and things like that.
The Ghosts trailer. Everyone that got knifed in the Ghost trailer was a grab and smash with a blade.
It's just like that.
And then a push them off. Now that was cool. And you're saying that's the way it is every time in Battlefield as well.
Yes. Now the other variation of knifing is more of a quick knifing. In Battlefield 3, I haven't knifed anyone in Battlefield 4 because I haven't really gotten that close to them to knife them really. But when you do the quick knife, I mean, it's a swipe just like Call of Duty, and I believe it takes 2 knives to actually get them done. It's not a 1 and done. It's a 2 if you're doing just the stabs.
Okay.
But if you go through the animation, like you sneak up behind someone and get them real quick, or even get them from the side, that goes through the animation. That's a 1 and done knife.
What's the difference in the button pushing?
So in Battlefield 3, and this is actually a good topic, because in Battlefield 3, to knife someone, it's your right bumper for Xbox.
Right bumper. So your lethal grenade for Call of Duty that's a swipe knife or the full kill?
So it's for both. So if you just tap it real quick, it'll swipe it. But if you hold it down, that's when you can kind of bring it out and go through a full motion of the knife. Now with Battlefield 4, the controller settings are all messed up. I don't know why they switched so many things. So I actually had to play around with it because I'm used to having my right stick be my crouch and go prone with Call of Duty, as well as Battlefield 3.
Okay.
That wasn't the case in Battlefield 4 when I first started. It was the right stick for knifing, so the old Call of Duty style is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
B for crouching. So I had to switch that up, and I thought that was really weird because for me, Battlefield 3 has always been that right bumper to knife someone, but then they moved it to B, and then they switched the crouching. So they just kind of switched everything up. The control scheme, I don't like some of the changes that they've made, and that's probably the biggest as far as the crouching and knifing goes.
So you can't fully customize a controller remapping.
In the beta, you can move certain things around. It's not as easily laid out as I would like it to be. But you can move things around as far as like vertical. Your sticks, the button schemes, you can move them around a little bit, and I was able to get what I wanted. The only change is that my knife is B now, so it's pretty much like Call of Duty is the way I changed it.
Tactical layout.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I don't know why they made those changes to controllers. I'm curious to see if that carries over.
That would lead me to ask what the right bumper is for now.
I don't know. I don't think it does anything. I can't think of what it does right now, because you don't have like tactical grenades or anything like that, like flashbangs or things like that.
You just got straight gun.
Yeah, you got your gun, your pistol. Depending on what class you pick, so I'll use the engineer example for class, which the engineer class is basically it's going to take out. It's anti-vehicle, so you get some additional. You get 2 equipments, if you will. So that's kind of similar to Call of Duty. With the engineer class, you get it's a torch basically, which helps you repair vehicles, and then you get like a rocket launcher or an RPG, which helps you take out. So those are the left and right directional pads.
Okay.
So your grenade is just the left bumper.
Okay.
So that's a little different.
There's no you can't do custom classes?
You can.
You can't. Okay, so you can do all weird stuff like you do in Call of Duty. You can customize your guns and your equipment and stuff
to an extent. So the way it works is it's broken down into 4 categories. So you have your assault, medic, engineer, and recon. So within those classes, you're going to have various different types of vehicles. So I would compare it to assault weapons in Call of Duty, SMGs, LMGs, and your sniper rifles.
Okay.
So you get various weapons of those types within each category that you can customize and put reticles on and things like that. And then as far as your equipment goes, you get a couple different variations within that category. So you couldn't run like a sniper rifle with a rocket launcher, that type of thing.
Okay.
So you can customize it within that section of
Now,
class.
is that just for the beta, or that's always the way?
That's always been Battlefield.
That's always been Battlefield. Okay. How is the gun selection?
Within the beta, it's 2 weapons per class, and you unlock that second weapon. And then as you use certain weapons, again, this applies to Battlefield 3, you can unlock different, like suppressors, flash muzzles, red dot sights, those types of things.
Right. Panic knifing and quick scoping are always largely talked about in Call of Duty. Is there?
Yeah.
We talked about the knifing. Is there quick scoping? Have you tried? How long does it take to scope?
I would say it's longer than Call of Duty, probably, as far as pulling in that scope. I know if you're really good at aiming and can almost do it without pulling up the scope, you can quick scope in Battlefield. I've seen montages of Battlefield 3 where people essentially do that. They pull it in real quick, and before the scope actually, you get that full view of the scope, they've already pulled the trigger, and the dude's dead. So if you're really good like that, you can essentially quick scope, but you're not going to get these like panic quick scoping like Call of Duty, because one of the best ways to describe it is when you choose the sniper rifle, you are really getting a trade-off, because that sniper rifle is very powerful. If you get shoulders up, and some of them even in the chest, you're getting a one-hit kill.
Okay.
But with that trade-off, if you get in a pretty close quarters battle, you're probably not going to win unless you get lucky. And I've gotten lucky a couple times. You get that no scope, it happens. But you're making that trade-off. You do get a pistol, which the pistols they're nothing like Black Ops 2, to where you could run around with a pistol and just obliterate people. You have to use them a little more tactfully, because it's going to take the majority of your clip to take someone out.
So on the gun-on-gun fighting,
yeah,
does it seem balanced, or can you say immediately this is the only gun to use, or maybe the tactics you use, the weapons are definitely a complement for them, or talk about the gun-on-gun?
I think the gun-on-guns in Battlefield in general, I'm going to speak in general, is a lot more balanced than Call of Duty, just for the fact that they do have various differences in clip size and how many bullets it's going to take to kill someone. So you have your typical differences there, just like you would in Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there's a lot of choices that you could just about pick any weapon and be successful with it, and I like that. And one of the things that I think makes it so balanced is the fact that there's nothing that makes essentially one gun better than another. That's the best way to put it. You also don't have perks, and I think that's one of the biggest differences between Battlefield and Call of Duty is the whole perk system. Because in Call of Duty you have these perks that are making you better and making you faster, letting you reload faster, and it can create an unlevel playing field if you don't pick a certain perk and someone else has it in that one-on-one situation. In Battlefield, you don't have those perks, so therefore everyone's on that pretty level playing field.
So everybody is about the same character, and that goes into the contrasts that I was hoping to explore.
Yeah.
If there are no the perk system is huge in Call of Duty, and the perk system has been a balancing of the perk system has been a major undertaking since at least Modern Warfare 2, or probably before that. I've heard other YouTubers that played it way before me say that, you had to do this, you had to do that, or you were just behind everybody else running whichever perks, the commando where you could lunge across the room or stuff like that. So if everyone is an equal soldier, that puts more stress on your stick skill and your ability to use whichever gun it is that you select. That makes sense to me. Is that accurate math, or?
I think that's very accurate, because one of the things I've noticed is another thing you can do with the guns. I didn't talk about this. I just thought about it. Is that you can actually switch the majority of guns, depending on which ones you're using, from full auto to burst to semi-auto. So you can switch your rate of fire on just about every single gun that you use. which is very cool, and I think it helps a lot of people. So, for example, if you have an assault rifle and you're shooting someone far away, because you're going to experience recoil, if you just do the semi-auto fire, you're going to get a little more accurate shots, and so that's going to make you a better shooter. So having the flexibility to do that, I think, in a way, I guess you can look at it as a perk, because not everyone's going to do those certain things, but the guns are just, they're balanced. And as far as the sticks, you said it comes down to the sticks. I think that's 100% accurate, because if you headshots in this game are very essential, because you can shoot someone in the chest and you'll eventually get them, but if you're getting headshots, you're going to kill someone a lot faster. So having good aim is going to make you more successful, not having the right perk set. Because as you've noticed with every single Call of Duty, over time there's a set amount of perks that everyone uses. Mm-hmm. So that balance, yes, you strive for that balance, but it's very hard to achieve when you're giving someone special abilities. So if you just don't have those, I think it's easier to maintain a balance.
Headshots required is one of the things that I despise about Halo. I mean, I really don't like to play Halo. I got Halo 4. I was excited for it. Modern Warfare 3 was dying, and as far as life cycle goes, and a lot of people were like, Halo 4. Okay. I went and picked up Halo 4. I liked Halo, the very first one I played on PC a million years ago. Halo 4 was not that game, or nearly. But is it headshots required? Because it's like 5 headshots in Halo. That's aggravating.
It's not to the extremity of Halo.
Okay.
So it basically, it's not headshots required. But if you can do them, it's going to make you better, and you're going to be able to take out people a lot faster. And you don't want to be the victim of, you're in that gun battle, you're both, trading shots on one each other. He happens to go up just a little bit, and you're the unfortunate victim. You don't want that to happen, because that can be a little frustrating. With Halo, that is headshots required. If you're not good at headshots in that game, you will not be successful, and that's just how it is. Battlefield is not to that extremity. I would say it's a notch up from Call of Duty, to where it's not required, but it's going to make you better. That's the best way to put it.
Okay, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the way the classes were. I'm just so used to having my 10 classes, and now I've got 10 sets of 10 classes, and that to me is, I really wish I had access to all 100 of them at the same time, just because I'd like to have that amount of customization. And it seems what you're telling me is that there's even more restriction in Battlefield than there is in Call of Duty on who you are as a soldier, and it leans more towards what you do with your gun and how you control your players. So that brings I say all that to bring to the question, Call of Duty has gone to a skillless game as far as the strategically taking out the objective. What is it like to play an objective game in Battlefield? Is it still skill required, tactics and teamwork? Is that in?
In the short answer, yes. And I'm glad you brought in teamwork, because yes, Battlefield, both 3 and as well as 4, given the beta that I've played, doesn't have the amount of customization you're going to see within Call of Duty, and especially Ghosts, because it seems like there's a lot of customization within Ghosts, with not only your playable character, but within your class setups. That being said, though, I think one of the whole points that they do the 4 different classes that I mentioned before is that, one, it's going to create balance, and it's going to help with teamwork. Because each class has its own special abilities. For example, in the sniper class, or the recon class as it's called, when you find someone, you can actually spot them and call them out. So they'll pop up on the map, and they'll have a little red arrow above them, so your teammates can see him as well and take him out. So you're helping your teammates find enemies, even though you might not be killing someone. And so it's just little things like that that help you play together as a team. And so teamwork,
that's automatic.
I believe in the sniper class it is, yes. I don't. I think you can spot people in other classes, but it might be the right bumper that I haven't played with too much. It could be that, but teamwork is. I wouldn't necessarily say it's essential in Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 3 and 4, because I mean you can lone wolf it. You can run around and do that, as with any first-person shooter game, I'd say. But with Battlefield, though, I feel like that's what makes it so fun, is that teamwork and the encouragement of teamwork, given the class setups, the weapon balancing. It's that I think that's just what makes it Battlefield. And one of the things they're introducing in Battlefield 4 is it's called Commander Mode, which I don't know too much about this because it was in Battlefield 2, but they're implementing it on tablets somehow into, I believe it's the next gen consoles, not the current gen. And that's basically where you can control a squad and tell them, point them out to go do certain things. You're commanding them essentially from a top-down view.
Now, that sounds like squads mode for Ghosts. That sounds like what was described.
I don't remember exactly what that was about. Did they say they have like tablet and a top-down view to tell people what to do?
I don't know about the tablet and top-down view, but it was AI-controlled teammates that went and did objectives as you directed. So, going through the evolution that I have in Call of Duty, starting with hardcore capture the flag, that took an insane, in Black Ops 1, that took an insane amount of teamwork. That was not a lone wolf game mode at all.
Yeah.
And then I went to team deathmatch, hardcore domination for a while in Modern Warfare 3, which took a lot of teamwork. My longest win streak was some pickups, and I played for hours with these guys one day. And we got 36 win streak, and we only cheated once by dashboard, and that was at like game 34. So if you even want to cut out those last 2 wins that I got before everybody had to go just do whatever, we did hardcore domination, had 36 win streak because we had a couple of good slayers and we worked as a team to complete objectives. In Black Ops 2, it doesn't seem to matter if you have a team or not. You just need a bunch of slayers. You can have 5 slayers and 1 bomb planter or flag capper. It seems like all you have to have in Call of Duty anymore is a slayer. I really miss strategic play. I'm wondering if I could get that fixed in Battlefield.
I think you would to an extent, because if you're working with it, because it's broken down into squads, because there's more people on the field than Call of Duty, so you have squads. I think they're groups of 4 people, 4 to 6, depending on the size, if I'm not mistaken. And those people are green, as opposed to the rest of your teammates, which are blue, and you can spawn on your squad mates. So I think you'll get that sense of teamwork as well as useful in tactics, because within Battlefield I feel like there's a lot of things you can do because the maps are so much larger. There's a lot of routes you can take. There's no linearity to the maps. They're not 100% symmetrical. There's tons of places you can move. For example, the map that's in the beta, you can, when you're playing Conquest, so the bigger version of the map, you can go to the elevator and just go to the top of this skyscraper where one of the points are. And you could essentially just chill up there by yourself if you wanted to, and then jump off the building and parachute. But there's so many different things you can do within the game. You can almost go do your own thing for a little bit, and then come back and do it. So I think giving you the freedom to do all those things allows for people to find different strategies to come out with the victory. As with Call of Duty, since it is a smaller scale and there are mostly symmetrical maps, there's only so many ways to win a match. And I think when you throw in the vehicles and the more players, I think you're going to get a lot more variables and different tactics that are going to be required.
Does this make you excited? I know I keep extending what we were talking about. Does this make you excited for the next gen console? Like,
yes,
completely port one thought to the other.
It does, because I know it's going to run better on the next gen consoles regarding like textures, just loading and overall smoothness and look. I don't know if it's going to run at 60 frames per second per se, but regardless, just having more textures and everything run smoothly, even if it was a solid 30 frames per second, would be amazing. And I think the thing I'm most looking forward to is those those bigger matches that I don't get to experience because I don't play this game on the PC. So having 32 versus 32 and just absolute chaos going on out there, that appeals to me because there's so many different things you can do, and if you're playing with fun people, a group of good squad mates, you can do those things together and have a good time. And I think that's what makes it great.
It kind of makes me wonder how you have teamwork with 32 people. That's a lot of open mics.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 2 out of 12 is 1/6. If I'm just breaking it down. Call of Duty, usually you have 2 people on your team with a mic, you and somebody else, or 2 people to maybe 3. So you're talking about 1/6 of the people. If you have 1/6 of the people in Battlefield, that's 6 people with a mic. 6 people trying to talk all at one time. Up to 6 to up to 36 trying to talk at one time or strategically call out stuff. That's a lot of chatter.
Yeah, I think here's the caveat to that, if that's the right word to use, is that I believe you only talk to your squad mates. So you're still within that 4 to 6 group that you're talking to.
So 36 people in a map is really only 6 live people and a bunch of AI.
No, they're all live people.
Okay, so you've got 36 people. You've got 6 groups of 6 on your team.
Yes.
Okay, see now I missed that altogether.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you can only talk to your squad mates, then that.
So I would say that encourages teamwork more because you want to stick with your squad to go do the common objective, because you know someone else is probably going to be going to do something else. And I think this is also where the commander mode is going to come into play, to where that person can command different squads to go do certain things and add more strategy to it, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap up here, one of the last things I wanted to talk about as far as comparing Call of Duty to the Battlefield 4 beta is that I think it's very interesting the particular game types they chose for Battlefield 4, with being Conquest, which to me is the definitive Battlefield experience, and then you have the Domination, which is obviously very similar to Call of Duty as far as its fast gameplay, smaller map, and it's basically infantry gun-on-gun battle. As with Conquest, it's the larger map, you have vehicles thrown in, you can go get lost by yourself if you wanted to. Heck, I went swimming in the map, and I was just out in the swimming, just trying to flank the guys, just swimming down the river. But
cool.
I think what intrigues me about it is I see they threw in Domination in the beta to try to appeal to Call of Duty players, because there are some similarities. However, it still feels like a Battlefield game to me, and then you can definitely tell. But I think it's to appeal to people like yourself, WakMed, who haven't experienced Battlefield for whatever reason or not, but can give you a smooth transition into the Battlefield universe given this beta. Now, I also think it's funny that Call of Duty is also taking things from Battlefield, such as the destructible environments. You have the changing of the levels that happens, or I forget what they call it, but I know like the falling skyscraper level does something. And you also have, as far as the leaning movements, and then the hurtling over barricades and things like that. So it's really interesting to see that both Call of Duty and Battlefield are kind of trying to be like each other, if you will, and trying to pull people away from each game.
Trying to steal each other's customers. You know what I think would be a better move for both of them would be for one of them to give up the holiday rush and to come out in March. April.
That'd be interesting.
If one did that, I think that both would experience higher sales. Although the one that came
over time,
well, the one that came out in the spring would probably suffer the holiday rush.
Yeah.
The loss of the holiday rush. But think about it, I'm tired of it by March. I'm tired of Call of Duty by March. Not completely done with it, but
yeah,
if there was something out there that was good and solid, then it would have to be given a go. Yeah. For sure.
Well, to tell you honestly, I that's one of the reasons why I like Battlefield, because I've always at first been a Call of Duty player. I've always played Call of Duty. I've played every single one of them, and I will continue to play Call of Duty. However, I get bored of it faster and faster each year. And when I discovered Battlefield 3 and kind of saw some of the things that you can do within this game, it's so massive, and just the fun you can have within it, it's appealing to me because it's a change of pace from Call of Duty. And I feel like that's what you need to keep both games fresh. You have to have a change of pace with everything, and you got to have some variety in your life. I think you'll find that with Battlefield 4.
Cool. Hey, man, I really appreciate you doing this dual comm with me, and man, this was a blast. We were supposed to, for those of you who are still here, we were only supposed to talk for 10 to 20 minutes, and I really appreciate you sticking around. I hope I can find enough gameplay. The intent was to try to switch it back and forth between Battlefield and Call of Duty, so maybe we've got enough gameplay between us that we can get that accomplished. Thank you for the gameplay, and I'll be sending you some as well if you'd like.
Sounds good.
I'm looking forward to this. I'm probably going to have to pick up Battlefield 4.
You heard it here, people. WakMed is moving on.
I wanted to save that for you just to... I didn't tell you that before, so I thought I'd go ahead and share that. I probably will have to get it. It may be a while.
That's fine.
I'm still not getting Titanfall. So...
We got some work to do, people. Let them know in the comment section.
Let me know in the comment section. Let me know when you get to play Titanfall in 2014. Hope you've enjoyed the dual comm. If you want to see more of these, let us know, because he's a great guy. He's over there. So, and this is really fun to do. Thanks.
It is.
Have a great day.